happy for you to sit in between us.
I want attacking purposeful football all the time. And providing you had it set up in that quarter, we had a real chance of winning it in that quarter. Now we've got our backs against the wall and we've got to fight.
Absolutely nailed it.
I know, we always fuck it up anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah, just remember who's mouse and who's screen.
No, I can control every screen with this little mouse. Brenton controls that screen, I control this screen.
You try and control something, and I try and fuck it up by trying to control.
You're right, you try and fuck it up, and you succeed.
That's exactly
in
right.
fucking it up.
That's what I do best.
We're going to start recording?
I started about 30 seconds ago.
Okay.
So that was round 14 we just got through. Okay, we will introduce ourselves. And this voice is Heath.
I'm Brenton.
And Josh.
Right, we got that out of the way. Look, the first thing we'll mention up front was the Phil Walsh thing. It's a lot has been said about it, and some beautiful tributes and some great pieces written about him. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, what do you do? But we're not going to dwell on it. I think one of the good things about football is you could see it in just about every game. People could forget about it for 2.5 hours and get wrapped up in something and just forget.
That's it. Like,
and that's what footy can do.
There's nothing we can add to the conversation about it.
We can express our condolences and everything, but many people have said a lot more about it than we can and what we know about. So we're just going to let it there, and hopefully everyone can find a way to cope with it.
And hopefully we'll focus on the fun stuff. And it all started on another Thursday night. We've got a Thursday night this week as well. I think it's the last one. Swans and Port. Swans without the Twin Towers up the front. Took a little while before they shook off Port.
Well, I think it was just a bit of a third quarter blitz that got Swans over the line. I think it was 4 goals zip. I think they got in the third, wasn't it? Something like that. 4
goals straight, yeah.
Yeah, I think in a low scoring game that counts for a lot. Not only on the scoreboard, but in momentum. With one quarter like that.
The other thing too, every time Port managed a bit of a rally, they'd get a couple in a row. Swans just said, no, not having it. So at the end of the night, Port never really led by more than a point.
It's funny, it's the second time this year that Sydney have woken up after one of their players has got injured. I'm trying to think who the game was earlier in the year when Parker went down at ANZ Stadium, and that was what kicked the Swans into gear. In this game, it was Teddy Richards who got knocked out, and it looked like that was the spark they needed. They just needed something like that, and the way they went, they looked dominant after that.
I think that was just the thing that just really got Hanbury angry. And just went out, fuck this shit.
Well, I tell you what, so everyone's talking about Fife, but geez, Hanbury, he has done himself absolutely no harm in terms of being in that conversation.
It's going to be one of the best runners-up ever, I think.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that Fife is by far and away the champion. But if he gets a week for something, or there'll be tons of money dropped on Hanbury.
I think so too. Him and Luke Parker are going to share a lot of votes, though. Also for the Swans, do you see the Goods goal when he's running out of the middle? Ollie Wines was chasing him and could not catch him.
No, I was too busy looking sternly at the people that were booing him.
I don't think anybody was booing him in the SCG. Ollie just had nothing to give him. And Goods just peeled away from him and slotted a nice one in from 50. I think we said it last 3 or 4 weeks in a row. His decision to drop himself down to the twos after being given the vest, paid in spades, hadn't it?
It is. It's like he's been his own best coach for the last few years or something like that. Whatever we thought was worse for him has turned out to be the best for him.
Yeah. Do you think it means he can go on and get the 400 as well?
I think he's earned the right to do what the fuck he wants. I think if he wants to give it a crack and he's still playing footy like this, then hey, why not?
Well, if the team is going to be in the discussion for the grand final, like Sydney, it's really just Sydney, Freo, Hawthorn that you're looking at for grand final participants. So while they're up, do you really want to try and get rid of a bloke who's done it all?
He's best 22, and I didn't think he was at the start of the year, and he wasn't at the start of the year. He looked like he was baggage.
Yeah,
but at the minute, if you're holding your own, and it's obvious, I think he's even come out and said it. It's a third premiership is what he wants.
Yeah, and come finals time, guys that have done it all and can perform under pressure, they're golden.
And he is. He was one of probably 2 or 3 players that stood up in the grand final last year.
Yeah.
And he's done it, time and time before.
So you think if they do get everything their way and they win the flag, maybe they will. Maybe they will say, well, it's your choice, and Goods will say whether he will or won't. If they fall short, I still can't see why they'd want to get rid of him. But if he says, look, lads, I've had enough, the body's not right, then that's an entirely different matter.
Do you think maybe he could be like the first player to just play an intermediary A and B's role, just like country footy? Like,
play home games only.
For AFL and just play the Sydney home games, and when you're on the road, boys, I'll just stay back here. I'll help the twos try and get a premiership or 2.
It'll stop the booing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about his longevity as well. Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Give it a go. You got to give back to the community around the Sydney area. It's a developing area for football AFL.
I still believe that the local fans should start chanting Goods every time he gets the ball, because then the boos, they don't matter.
Yeah, that's a good
matter
point.
Anymore.
They just got to get people there to start those chants. That's the main thing.
They do all right at the SCG.
Yeah, they do, actually.
Gary Rowan's out for a month, I think, with a hammy. Poor bastard, he's had his fair share of injuries. But on the Port Adelaide side of things, this was their chance. They couldn't ask for a better setup. No Franklin, no Tippett.
Yep.
Rowan goes down early, and they play a half a footy without Teddy Richards.
Yeah, it's like I played into their hands. Like, if you had a strategy for Port Adelaide, given all things were equal, you would have wanted, those sort of players to go out, and then they'll give you advantage with the running game.
Yeah, it's just a sad reflection on where they're at the moment, that they couldn't really capitalise.
And a lot of people are enjoying that, with such a build-up they've had since Hinckley's come along. I think this is the eventual ecstasy come down the day after. And it's been a good couple of years, but they've well and truly come back to the pack. And it's hard to explain why.
They have, but to be honest, when Port are up and running, I enjoy watching them, because they do play a very aggressive, free-flowing form of football, and I've talked about it heaps in these podcasts. But it seems like now they're just getting caught. Their handballs are too short. They don't have players moving when they're receiving the ball, and they're getting caught.
Yeah, see, I think they had a game plan that suited the list that they had, but they had a list that wasn't very versatile in changing the game plan up. So as soon as it got figured out, it was very easy to sort of follow suit with whatever worked for the previous team that stopped them. And
when you have teams like this that are underperforming, you look to leadership. And I think that's part of the problem is
Honestly,
their leadership's been great. Robbie Gray's been smashing it.
Yeah.
Travis Spoke had a quiet one, but he's been great in just about every other game.
Even Jay Schultz has been good presenting himself down the ground when he hasn't been getting his own way in the goal square.
Yeah.
But they are missing Kane Corns. Like, having a person willing to put their body on the line in the middle to protect their teammates, not just to try and get their own ball, is something they've really missed. Because Gray and Wines are great players around the ball, but they need someone else to sort of help them break a tag, help them remonstrate when they're getting manhandled, kind of thing. And they don't have it at the moment.
You would have thought Wines is only young, but he's a big unit. But it's just I don't know.
The only bloke with that mentality would be Schultz, and he's too far down the ground most of the time.
He looks too just complacent to me all the time. He looks like Tuck when he was playing. It's just nothing makes him angry or sad or happy. It's just such an even keel. You want a bit of mongrel.
Well,
more
you've
mongrel
never seen a push in the back plate against him then.
He got off with the tackle on Richards as well. They decided that it was different to the Gibbs tackle in that it wasn't a double movement. The more I looked at it, I changed my mind every time.
Yeah, see, I agree with that. It's not an infringement in the sling tackle. I just think that we can, like we said online, I think there's a better way that we can train people to tackle to sort of limit that sort of damage happening. I think there's a more effective way to do it and safer.
I did like the way Titus O'Reilly described it, in that the MRPs laid down the rule and say this sort of tackle will definitely sometimes maybe be punished.
Yeah, it's pretty much, unfortunately, the standard method of operation for MRP is whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's like Cards Against Humanity. They just pull out, a player does this, he gets some, maybe weeks, fines, I don't know. But with the tackle, I don't think that particular tackle should have been weeks. But I didn't think the other ones should have been. I don't agree with paying the consequence of the tackle.
Yeah.
I think if something's out of your control, because once you've committed to that tackle, you're pretty much a passenger
Yeah.
And if the player you've got happens to have history of concussions or bad injuries or whatever, that's kind of on them, and they knew that when they took the field. I'm not excusing it, but I'm saying
There has to be an assumed risk.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we made the example when we were talking online about when you look at wrestling or judo or jiu-jitsu, where if you're going to pin someone's arms, you've got an onus responsibility not to protect their head when they're going against the ground. And the thing is, as opposed to slinging someone sideways, I think it would be just as effective to drop backwards and essentially take their back. And, I mean, that way they can't get a handball off and you're retarding their movement forward. And also you're applying your weight to them to drop them in the most effective manner as opposed to slinging them sideways.
But again, like with judo, jiu-jitsu, anything involving a takedown, oftentimes you're getting slung. Like you're getting whipped onto your butt, your lower back or whatever, and your body is going to whip, which is what causes that sort of damage. But part of that is you learn how to absorb that energy. And that's on mats that are probably a little bit firmer than what you'll get on turf. Or at least on AFL level turfs. Playing out at the Memorial Oval, you probably get smacked out. But I think players need to learn that. You need to learn to take a fall. And some don't. You see them just stick their neck out and hope they survive. I'm not saying that that's what happened with this tackle.
No, he didn't have much of a choice in this one, poor bastard.
But I think...
and Jay did everything in his own sort of reasonable responsibility afterwards to make sure that the trainer got there.
He was very quick on it.
So there's nothing against Jay Shooks in this matter at all.
No. It was an aggressive tackle that had unfortunate results.
Yeah.
But I really do think that being tackled and being the tackler are skills that they really, really need to focus on at AFL level.
When we're talking to Malcolm Bangs about it, and he's talking about the in-the-back rule,
Yeah.
when you're tackling someone, and it's just your perception of what might be dangerous to a body is different to what's an actual fact of what's dangerous to your body. So I think if we took on like a lot more advice from people in those sorts of areas that had a lot more experience in it, and they've applied that experience to AFL, and sort of come up with a strategy on the best way to approach it. Especially, I think we've started rewarding people going in head first because they get a free kick for a high tackle.
Yeah.
And I think, like we mentioned in another podcast, where we were always taught to go in with a shoulder or hip first to protect yourself and ride the bumps. I think we're going to start looking at the responsibility on the person going for the ball as well as the person who's attacking.
I think that movement started, hasn't it?
It has a bit.
Getting there.
And I think they need to be on it consistently, because otherwise it'll be like the tripping thing, where it was big for a month and then nothing.
Exactly.
But,
the sliding in rule. And,
and this is also at a time where they've just had the 60-minute special on Alex McKinnon. McKinnon? The rugby league player.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I want to say McKinnon. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's something like that.
But they were talking about that, and he pretty much fired both barrels at Cam Smith, because Cam Smith was saying, well, he ducked his head. He did. When he was getting tackled, it was a lifting tackle, but he curled his own chin onto his chest and was planted on it. Had he just, crunched his shoulders or whatever, maybe he walks away from that. You can't say anything guaranteed because, no one's psychic, or at least not psychic enough.
Yeah.
But that sort of instinctive ability to absorb the energy of a tackle, it has to be something that you get by full practice. And these are rugby league players that are used to, they expect to get tackled hard, driven in the ground every damn game.
Yeah.
So how much more important is it for AFL players who are moving at a faster rate of speed most of the time, you'd say, and they can get tackled from any direction? So learning to absorb that energy as you get thrown to the ground has to be a skill they look at. And it is absolutely teachable, because now you see people, when they're about to get tackled, they raise their arms up every time to try and get a free handball out.
Yeah.
So if they can learn that skill so quickly, why not learning to crunch your shoulders up, learning to make yourself small and into a ball and get ready for that impact?
Yeah, well, I think it's just about taking a more scientific approach with sort of developments of the technology. You see how they will use sports science programs and that, where you'll hook your body up to those electrodes and they'll view the shock when you're going through the motions, as opposed to what you call old football knowledge, where this is the way it's always been, and this is what makes common sense to me.
You mean like they do with the bowling action of cricketers and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's the same sort of thing. Yeah, where
motion capture,
you can,
essentially,
and you can measure shock on impact on joints and things like that. And I think looking at those sort of experts, because technology's getting to a point where you can actually break it down to science, and not just this is the way it's worked for me all the time, so this is my strategy.
The other problem is enforcing the rules, because AFL is so damn hard to officiate, because no other sport I know expects umpires to be psychic. Like, I don't think many other sports have a deliberate out-of-bounds rule where you're trying to read the mind of the player. And then other things like, deliberate point.
Well, I don't know. I spent half the game trying to read the mind of Razor Ray. So, what the fuck was that shit?
Yeah, most of his mind is, fuck you all, I'm getting paid, bitches. But anyway, I'm sure there's going to be endless columns filled with that sort of crap as the season goes on.
And like Bryce Gibbs said, I'm confused. The other thing for Port was this is Paddy Ryder, first game back. He did okay in the hit-outs, but just 2 kicks and a handball for the day.
Didn't really set the world afire.
Let's not say he did. And, I mean, it's like he's not like he's up against a Sandilands or anything like that. Yeah. It was Mike Pike, who's been struggling a little bit, and Toby Nankervis in for his first game.
Yeah.
And you're collecting 3 possessions. I know it wasn't a night for big men, but you'd hope for a little bit more than that.
And the thing is, even if you're getting that many tap-outs, if you're not winning the clearances, they're kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
So even with that, though, with Ryder's numbers and looking at, the team went down, he'd probably still have looked at Essendon and gone, I'm still fucking glad I got away from there.
Yeah.
He's not getting too many text messages saying, good one, champ, dickhead.
On to Friday night football. It was the first game after the tragedy, so everyone was looking for something. And the pressure was on from the get-go, and the pressure was on all night. Collingwood really took it up to Hawthorn, and I think there's no 2 ways about it. Collingwood played better. They just didn't kick the goals.
I was thinking, at the start of the season, if we had seen this game, we would have thought this was a fight for first and second. That's what sort of contest it was. We didn't anticipate that that's not the way the football will be played for first and second this season.
And you look down at Collingwood's list, and I would love to be able to hang shit on Collingwood and say they're not going to play finals or whatever. Their list is fucking good.
They're young. I mean, they lost a couple of key players at the start of the year that are still looking at what they're going to do.
Hey, we talked to Joffrey at the start of this, or early in the season, and he told us so.
Yep.
He told us so.
He said that they're a good young side.
He picked it.
Oh, look, there's still a couple of passengers, but when you've got a core of, Elliott, Pendlebury, Swan, Crisp, Williams, those guys are your premiership level players.
I like to say that I picked Marley Williams at the start of the year to have a big year. One of the 2 players I picked, him and Tarrant from North.
Even Sidebottom and Fasolo have been doing their part too.
Fasolo's only
He
just
has
come
been
back in the
doing very well.
side. Yeah. He had a good night. I'll be honest, I was disappointed that they played Darcy Moore. Not disappointed in how he went. He made a couple of good contests. Didn't have much of the ball, but I think he took a nice mark.
Yep.
And got subbed out in the third. But you had a look at him. His instincts are good, but he's not physically ready. Just don't. I know it's such a great story and everything. The son of a former champion and all that. But just Jack Watts.
The thing is, there are plenty of sons of former champions.
Yep.
That's the thing. They're not rare.
He's going to be a star, right? He's going to be top 10 pick when he went through the draft.
Yeah.
Let him go. Just put him in the 2s, nurse him through. Maybe even to 2016. Let him play 3 or 4 games next year. We don't want to see him just yet. Just don't ruin him.
That's the scary thing too. They've got a lot of strength to come into the side.
They do.
Yeah.
So if they can keep the team together, they'll be grand finalists maybe 2 years' time.
The thing is, I think they're already overachieving, which is a very, very good thing because it takes so much pressure off all their players. You can play with sort of a reckless abandon.
I tell you what doesn't take pressure off their players. Cloak kicking 1 goal 4.
Yeah, but the thing about this is that he did kick 1 goal 4, but I saw him come up the field a lot more often and actually present himself and do a lot more up the field. So
he did, but the goals he missed were the easy ones.
they were
Do you think you
shit
get rid of that
goals.
fucking glove? Like, honestly, what purpose does it serve for him? It's
not
not helping him
helping.
drop the ball.
I think it actually might be Terminator. He's cut the hand off. And
Or he could be Skywalker.
But, Jesus,
that's true. Yeah.
There's got to be a lot of teams with a bit of cash going, there's a few guys here we wouldn't mind chasing.
yeah. Cloak's not one of them.
No, Cloak is certainly not one of them, especially with the money he's on. But you look at, Varco's not one of them either. He's a bit shit. But you look at, say, Sidebottom, Elliott, Crisp, probably not Swan, Williams.
It's a bit... you're really challenging yourself if you're trying to buy players off Collingwood, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit like going and playing poker against Bill Gates.
Yeah, exactly.
You might win a couple of times, but their pockets are deeper.
Yep.
But they've got the same salary cap.
Yeah, they do. They
so
still
did
find a way
Carlton as
around
well,
it.
Yeah, and they found busy.
They've got big facilities.
Well, again,
Let's say that.
Carlton's one of the teams that they'd love to poach a player or two. They'd probably hand back
Well,
Thomas.
they're poached by assassinate. They've already killed a few of the stars in AFL this season, so fucked up
so
Thomas.
Oh, well, he was fucked when they got him. Collingwood are laughing about that one.
True, yeah.
See, that's what happens when you buy players off Collingwood. you
They get
You
sent
get
to
Daisy
gearbox.
Thomas.
You get lemons.
On the Hawthorn side of things, Cyril Rioli only had 10 touches. Quiet night.
Yeah, but he did enough sort of around the contest and that.
10 touches. He's just about best on ground still.
Yeah, I was going to say, he did plenty, yeah.
I actually really liked the way Shields played too. I thought he had a really good game. He just seemed to have very smart decisions.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about Cyril anyway. No, Liam Shields has come along. When he started with Hawthorn, he was a bit of a run-with player, and I think they still use him like that occasionally. But now that he's put a bit of bulk on, he can take the knocks and wear a tackle and still give the ball off.
Well, funny you mention that, because that's what I think that Cyril has proven as well, is that he's got a really good centre of gravity, and he doesn't go to ground at all. Like, he's just got an amazing...
Yes.
He's like a fucking cat.
He
Absolutely.
just bounces up.
Keeps his feet, and he's just always aware of what's going on around him. It's like what's happening in front of him with the ball is an afterthought, and he's looking at what else he's going to do once he gets that ball, and he usually does.
But you see so often, people go up for the mark, and Cyril may get a decent fly, sometimes he doesn't, but when the ball's on the ground, he's still on his feet, and everyone else is falling their fucking ass.
And he's 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, he's always thinking about something else.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to tap it over there, and then I'm going to run here. Whereas everyone else is, the tap on. I don't know why they call it clever play. It is pretty much standard nowadays.
Yeah.
But he'll do it knowing that he's going to run there.
Yeah.
And then it's going to get tapped on and handballed over.
Yep.
But when the final goal came, and it was Cyril that dived on the ball and then got it out.
Yeah.
It was a lot of it just, I know it's got to go that direction.
Yep.
And just get it in that direction any way I can.
Yeah.
It's fantastic to see that desperation.
And look, the thing about Cyril is having not many disposals, and on a stats point of view, it doesn't look like it did much, but it played a
It's a
huge
difference.
role in the game. And the thing is, I think that's the key of this game, is that if you look at the stats, the Pies got the best of pretty much most of it.
Yep.
But they just couldn't do enough with it. And it just shows the efficiency of the Hawks. When they got it, they could do what they needed to do.
Well, he kicked just as many goals as Fasolo, Cloak, and Jesse White.
Yeah.
No, he kicked more than those 4 put together.
Yep.
And that's, at the end of the night, that was the only difference between the two sides was goal kicking.
Yeah.
The way Collingwood set up their wall across half forward, when the ball comes in, it's not a defensive tactic at all. It is such an offensive tactic.
Yeah, isn't it? It's like almost you're anticipating a rebound.
Yeah.
And then you, as soon as that switch happens, you're ready to pounce. But if you look at it, like, Collingwood had more disposals, more free kicks, more clearances.
Won the clearances.
Yep. Won the stoppages. Lost inside 50s, but they
Only
had,
just. And that
won
was,
contesteds by a lot, and had the most of everything.
that was the lowest inside 50s for Hawthorn for the year.
Wow.
50, which is still saying something.
Yeah.
But they kicked 15 goals off 50.
Yeah.
It ended up being the difference.
Yeah.
Jack Gunston still lost his radar, something shocking. I've never seen somebody...
Just not confident in a drop punt.
No.
That's never good for a full forward.
Especially for someone like him who's got such an accurate... In the last 3 years, now just... that finger must be bothering him more than...
And it was more the angle that he chose to have a snap from. And it's like, these should be given... Like, they're free throws for a full forward.
Especially for you.
Yeah,
It's
and
like Reggie Miller deciding to lay out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Reggie Miller trying to do a Shaq-style free throw. Why would you bother?
But look, they never got beyond 3 goals this game. And Collingwood, unfortunately, another honourable loss. It's been a few in a row for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would say that the tribute at the end of the match was perfect. Like, both teams, both coaches just realised, all right, game's over. Let's all just get together and honour Phil Walsh and everything. I thought that was a perfect touch.
Especially since there was no songs or anything like that. It was almost tying a bow on the end of the game.
And the thing is, watching it, like, I thought it might have been nice if, like, they'd sung the Adelaide Crow song, like the fans.
You know what?
Only the fans, not the players. The players can do it, but if the fans took it on themselves to start singing the Adelaide Crow song,
That
it'd be
thought
nice.
passed my mind too. But
I
look,
thought that's bad that it didn't, but I thought it would be a nice little touch to the South Australians, because we give them lots of shit, so it'd be nice to give them throw them a little rose.
Well, may not all know it, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
just blag it.
They sang your fucking song when they won. So.
Onto the MCG on Saturday, Richmond versus Giants. Could have gone to this game, but fuck that. It was so fucking cold. The Giants put up a bit of a show. It is funny with Richmond because everybody said that they've beaten Sydney, they've beaten Port, Freo. This is the one they've beaten Collingwood. This is the one that is their danger game.
Well, look, I had 3 notes written in my book from this game, and I think it pretty much sums it up perfectly.
Fuck this, fuck that, fuck you.
Shithouse. Number 2, shithouse win. Number 3, first time I remember we had an important shithouse win.
Yeah.
10-18. That's the big one that I see there.
It's the shithouse win we needed to know we could win.
If you can kick 10-18 and still win, either you're fucking lucky as balls, and Richmond aren't lucky as balls.
Yeah.
Or someone up there is helping you out.
The thing is, it wasn't even like the final tally of goals and points. It was the fact that we're going into a third quarter in a tough game, and we're down by, I think it was 2.5 goals or something like that.
Nearly the biggest lead of the game, yeah.
Yeah, and we had to grit it out and grind it out and show heart and get through it, and we did it.
Well, you did it also, and they only scored 1 goal in the last quarter, so being able to keep them to that is pretty damn good.
So, a shit-ass game, put a shit-ass effort, but we had a shit-ass win that we needed to win.
It's something that Richmond can't say, like, you're right. Something they haven't done is win ugly before.
Yeah.
They've needed things to go right.
And the thing is, it's win ugly in an important game.
Yep.
We can win ugly against fucking Melbourne when it doesn't matter. But
Shane Edwards is continuing on his breakout year as well.
Took the key mark of the game.
Didn't he?
Took the key mark of the game.
Kicked a nice goal out of the
and
centre.
that's covering up for, I think it was Miles who missed the sealer for was it Miles or someone else from about 15 out, slight angle.
Something that
I think I've hung Miles out to dry. It might have been someone else, but anyway, you don't know.
Watching the game, it did seem like Vickery was having Marriott was having a bit of a struggle though at some stages.
Well, he's. I think he got 2 weeks down to 1 for whacking. Who was it? Steele. Jack Steele, who was going for the third man up.
Yeah.
What
backwards elbow.
It was a worthy knock.
Clumsy.
You can't let people come third man over the top unpunished, I think.
It was old school.
I think it's like Detroit Pistons style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Had he not taken his eyes off the ball, though, I think he could have probably got away with a reprimand.
He knew what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
He's trying to stop the guy going third man up. He's like, I've got to stop him. Whack. I think I whacked him.
The thing is, I think he didn't anticipate that Steele could... he thought he'd jump higher than he did.
Or earlier.
I'm making excuses here, but the thing is,
that's exactly what it was. I've got to stop him. Shit off him.
Yeah, it's like as soon as they jump off the ground, you put your part of your body anywhere above the center of gravity. So on the chest, anywhere, they're going to fall ass up. Yeah. Like that's enough. That's what you need to do. They'll think twice about jumping up again. You can't do it across their head. That's just the thing.
With a big forearm swing.
I mean, good luck telling Ivan what to do. Brave man that does that.
He'll have a week off for it.
Yeah, I think he should have had 3, but even the tribunal went, "Oh fuck! You told him? I ain't telling him." 1 week.
Ken McCarthy went goalless. Which I think is the first time this year, or first time in a long time. He's kept very quiet on the day, which says a lot for, I think, Richmond's backline.
The thing is, I think what Reigns has done well is making... Rance, Reigns done not a whole lot well, but Rance has made their full forwards have to be accountable for him coming up to centre-half back, and that's where he does most of his damage is across that centre-half back line.
He's only really had his colours lowered once this year that I can recall, and that was Melbourne.
Yeah.
He's played brilliantly up until this point, and then since he signed the contract, he's played even better.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, he definitely has holes in his game, and you can beat him one-on-one. It's just a matter of you have to be accountable for him with the running players that will be around him from the turnover in the back line.
And it must be said, with all the injuries that GWS has to key players, they haven't folded.
Yeah.
They're still they've had a dip.
They're showing
They've
depth.
stayed hungry.
Yeah, they're showing depth on potential key players.
Yeah.
Like, they've got a lot of people who are putting their hand up and saying we want these positions. So
I mean, Richmond's inaccuracy let them off a little bit, but they still had to take advantage of opportunity. They didn't quite do that in the way that let them win the match, but they still made sure that they were pushing right up until the final siren.
Yeah, but also a lot of their sort of inaccuracy at kicking was a little bit down to pressure from GWS. Like, they did do a good job in patches in defence, but they couldn't keep it consistent.
Closing speed and tackling have been 2 things that GWS have done well all season, and
and just body on body, they can't measure up.
On to the other expansion side in Gold Coast. I don't know who picked this. Gary Hablett just makes such a... It's like people were starting to forget.
Hey, look,
just how good he can be.
I got, like, I'm not religious or anything like, and it's just all the photos of when the Carmichael Hunt thing came out. They're in a circle and there's the Bible clan and they're having their prayer. I think they're actually praying to Gary Ablett. I think he might actually be Jesus.
He could actually be the son.
He could. Well, I mean, you saw that they were getting up to no good. They were taking drugs and being absolute fucking sinners. So he left them. He abandoned them.
And then he came back.
And then he came back. Then he came back. They paid their penance. He came back and said, "This is what you can do under my shepherd."
They are just such a different side. I mean, we know that, and yet it's still so surprising how they could change.
Also, this doesn't make Gary Senior God either. Makes him fucking Joseph.
I thought Mary was fucking Joseph.
No,
she wasn't. That was the problem. Yeah.
God fucked his missus and said, "Yeah, you fucking raised a cunt."
So one thing that surprised me about this game, I was watching it at the pub. I didn't know I could swear for about 58 minutes straight.
You haven't listened to your podcast, eh?
But fuck me.
Where does it leave North?
Actually, in a good spot. Jared Waite's injured. He's done his finger. He's out for 10. Doc Larkins. Apparently, he may not make it.
He's done his finger and his ACL somehow, according to Doc Larkins.
And he's on drugs.
Carmichael Hunt stopped him in. I thought that these kind of games were finished with North Melbourne. But look, is it Gary or is it North?
No,
they're the only two problems.
Honestly, I would say most of it's North. The amount of times they're up and under to a spot 35 metres out from the back line, I would say that would be 3/4 of their forward 50 entries. And so every week from now on, you're just going to see them drop a player back, they'll take that mark or bring it to ground and farm it back and rebound from the half back line. And that happened 8 times straight in the second quarter. I know Brad Scott was sitting at home watching on telly. How the fuck he couldn't see that happening is beyond me.
Look, I think for North, I think the cream's rising to the crop and the shit's sinking in the bottom. And I think they've got to figure out what they've got to cut loose in the season. And although this win isn't great, I think what some key players in their team have shown this year is good enough to build a team around to go forward. But you got to cut the shit out.
J McMillan, he had a great game and has had a great couple in some pretty ordinary matches.
Right.
He was very smart with the use of the ball, and he would be the shining light of that particular match. But there were a lot of passages. Higgins was kept quiet. He's normally very good. Ferrito got a bit of the ball and then did dumb shit with it.
Higgins is one of those players though that he'll only get 8 kicks for the game, but he'll get 3 or 4.
Yeah, but see, here's where I think my expertise as a Richmond supporter comes in handy, is that I understand having a team with players that you really like and that have been good players and can be good players, and they're not players that are going to give you a team that wins premierships.
Good average players.
Yeah, good average players. And like
someone's called them.
You got no real good reason to get rid of them, but they're not going to be in that team that wins you a premiership.
It's the Ronda Rousey sort of thing.
That's where they're at.
It's the Ronda Rousey sort of mentality. You're not training to be the best. You're training to be beat the best at your worst.
Your mum abused you. And
maybe that happened too.
Confidence. And
maybe they need a couple of abusive mums in there. But Majak Dor came back, did nothing, got dragged, and probably be back in the VFL next week.
He's leading the goal kicking in the VFL. I think he should stay there. It might be his best chance to make a case for himself at some other club next year.
Well, he came back in at the expense of Ben Brown for some reason. Ben Brown went back, slotted 4, and pretty much dominated the game, so I don't think he'll be back there too much.
I hope not, because Ben Brown's the future.
Yeah. He's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, in what's he, 2 or 3 years?
This is his second year. He hasn't played it. This is his first full season.
And
Benny Brown.
I don't think you can sort of discount the effect that having full stands makes to a team's confidence as well. Yeah. And Ben Brown's a fan favourite. He's going to get people out there and watching.
Maybe that's what it is. They're like, he doesn't play away games. He stays right here.
Yeah, maybe. Send him out, do autographs at, I don't know. Actually, no, fuck being send him out North Melbourne.
Well, the good thing is, as long as he's on the team, we sell double the amount of hats too, being a Tasmanian boy.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's true.
Well done.
Yeah, you'd lose out on the family discount, though.
1.
I think Goldstein had another day out with a hit out, 62 hit outs he had. But North had double the amount of hit outs and still lost the stoppages. Yeah. The clearances, sorry.
Yeah. And watching that, it was mainly because of the stupid fucking handballs.
Yeah, like, it's almost a concession, though, by the team.
Even worse, blind kicking. So it's one thing to handball a bloke under pressure, which is dumb, but if you got it, you got it. But then there's the blind kicking straight to the opposition.
Yeah, but it's almost a concession by the other team that you're not going to beat him in the hit outs, so you can see those hit outs
try and shark them.
Sit one person. You can sit one person behind the play so that when those blind kick-outs and hit-outs happen, you got someone extra there to either force contest that you've got the numbers around or take a direct mark.
They did. And, credit to Crocker. He noticed by three-quarter time that that's what they were doing, and he moved Lockie Hansen forward. But unfortunately, that meant we had no rebounding from our own back line, so that didn't work out so well either.
And for me, because I like to bring everything back to Hawthorn, it was good to see Mitch Hallahan play a good game and kick a really nice long goal.
Mitch Hallahan.
Charlie Dixon, just the lazy 7.
And that
the
one too.
Little
And
side
a couple
heel.
of points too, wasn't it?
That was just crazy.
You're on. It is your day when
Yeah.
you're fumbling it with a bloke tackling you in front and you kick a sideways goal from the goal square.
It's Cade Collage.
Collar, Jazz, knee.
Is
That's how
he
you say
the
it.
twin of the Geelong player or just brother?
I think brother.
I think brother. I'm going to say he's got the best deal of that, hasn't he? He's up there living the life, being a star in Gold Coast, and old mate's trying to figure out how he's going to work into a strong Geelong team that's on a resurgence.
Well, yeah. And, speaking of resurgence, Gold Coast did get 2 big ins in Ablett and Swallow. Both of them had pretty good games, you'd have to say. Looking absolutely none the worse for wear for their time off.
The only thing was how long was that time off with Ablett. I think we're the Suns sitting 17th. It's obviously I can't see him making the 8.
No.
But geez, they look like a good side with him in it. It's just
Fucking don't they? Just
it's
look at that. 19
just so
goals,
different.
11. 19 goals, 11 is an amazing score for any game this round.
Yeah.
Like, that's top of the round scores.
Especially up there where it was a bit wet, a bit scratchy.
Yeah.
Like the ground looked terrible, to be honest. And you saw a few players slipping and sliding. Ball was a bit greasy.
Ablett was sporting a
He had it
very
on string.
classic Sydney Swans haircut too. Long beard and a shaved head.
Nude nut and the big beard. On to Carlton and the Bulldogs, which is good to see a couple of the old Bulldogs playing against their old side in Liam Jones, who didn't really set the world on fire. But he's going to win another VFL premiership one day. Liam Jones. What did you make of this game? It was a tough watch, to be honest, and I did try and watch all of it.
I tried to watch it, and the thing is, I think it just came down to the third quarter fade out from Carlton. They sort of, it's almost like you almost believe that they could do it. You almost did, and then you're like, oh, that's right, that's why they can't do
Still
it.
Carlton.
That's what happened. Yes, and look, I think Kade Simpson played well. I thought he did all right.
He's having a good year.
Curnow too. He's put in a good season.
Curnow did.
You know what? Curnow's probably close to their. I don't know if he probably not their best and fairest, but he's probably in the top 3.
But the thing is, he's had lots of
he's
tagging
consistent.
roles where he did a very, very good job.
An awesome job.
But you don't win, you get flogged, so that counts for nothing. In like you can stop Paddy Dangerfield, but if your team gets beat by 100 points, it doesn't count for fuck all. You know what I mean? Even if you played the game of your life.
We mentioned it on the podcast last night, I think, too. It was good to see that they called out BT about calling Jake Stringer the package.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was Lingy that called him out.
That's right.
It was good to see, actually.
Yeah, it was a bit mean girls-ish, like, stop trying to make the package happen. It's not going to happen.
I think we're sick of BT speaking at all, to be honest.
It's so funny, though, because I heard him on the radio commentating a few games. He's really good.
Is he?
When he's not trying to be Rex Hunt, yeah.
I remember dealing with him at Casino once. He was annoying as fuck. Was
so
drunk, though, so.
it makes me think that it's maybe it's the Channel 7 producers that are encouraging that sort of, hey buddy, remember when we used to play and how are the jam donuts outside? Just call the game. Caleb Daniel coming in for his first game as well. Did you know he's the shortest player in the AFL?
I did not know that.
Well, did you know that Scott Pendlebury has a basketball background?
What?
They mentioned them both about
shit.
equal fucking times. I think we can see that he's a small little fucker.
Like, I don't know, but did they make at least one Muggsy Bogues or Spud Webb reference?
Unfortunately not.
No, well, they must have talked to Scott Pendlebury.
Look, Bulldogs did enough. I think they shook off Carlton eventually. Dennis Armfield had another great game. It's just unfortunate that he kicked so many bloody points. But look, a few of them are doing what's the fucking coach's name? John Barker. They're all doing him no harm whatsoever in his quest to become the next coach.
Picking as well. I mean, I think it's a bit remiss to not mention his game. It was a bit of a standout game.
Done all right exactly for the Bulldogs. On to Melbourne and the Eagles.
This was not really a surprise to anyone, I don't think.
I don't think so. I mean,
Eagles are sitting second.
yeah.
And the times where you can say they're lucky, it's too late in the season to say that.
Yeah, exactly. They're a top 4 side. They're not going to drop out of the top 4.
Yeah. No. Look, one team played some football on this day.
Melbourne weren't that bad. They did okay, but at the end of the day, it's the class of the West Coast Eagles midfield, and it's all the same names.
Yeah, Prudis is making an arsehole out of me. I can tell you that much. Oh yeah, what do you have? 22 disposals, 11 tackles, was everywhere.
It's a lot of hard work.
Fucking oath. Especially with someone who's going backwards.
Yeah.
But speaking of the usual contributors, it was the same for Melbourne as well. Too few of them, but it's just Nathan Jones, Bernie Vince, who seem like can be asked.
Bernie Vince has had a fantastic season. I think it was really highlighted the week when he went against Dangerfield. But he's gone from the run with stopping player to the ball magnet the next week and back and forth. He's been a great pickup for him.
But even some of their players you're expecting to come on, like Tumpus, Hogan, they haven't come on enough.
Yeah.
They're deserving of their spot, but not much more.
Yeah. I think like with Bernie Vince, you got the maturity of someone who can have that sort of awareness of the game that can slow it down to a pace that will suit Melbourne more. I think you see a lot of sort of that effect in the style that they play.
Yeah, a lot of the Melbourne style seems to be, oh fuck, what do I do with it now? They
give it a Jonesy, give it a Jonesy.
Yeah, they seem to just lose their shit, and there's no coolness under pressure at all.
Yeah.
So maybe they're all on coke. I don't know. Maybe it's happening in Melbourne too.
Well, Melbourne would have could afford it at least. With their fans, they're all on the
their fans with their members.
They're usually on the powder, but it's on Mount Buller.
Yeah.
Look, it was
on cocaine.
It was flat for the Eagles, and even Simpson said it after the game. And they've got the Crows next week, so that's going to be a big one for them to get up. On the other plus side for him is Josh Kennedy's still leading the Coleman. He kicked 2, but Jack Darling's come back in. It's about his 3rd or 4th game back, and he's bagged a handful. That's not a bad effort for him.
He presents a strong target as well. He's good at going body on body against anyone, and he provides a lot of freedom where your forward pockets have to be accountable for him and where he's going to lead, and not just drop into the hole where Kennedy is going to be. So I think as long as he's doing well, you're going to see probably Kennedy shoe in the Coleman medal.
Yeah, I can't see him being caught.
All right, so I see Josh Kennedy still leading with 48, and he's 11 handy ahead of Jeremy Cameron, who didn't have a brilliant week, but he'll keep him back there for a while longer.
And look, Josh Bruce on 37. I mean, to be honest, I think he might be the closest challenger because St Kilda, not one-dimensional up forward, but he's provided such a strong target that you can't go wrong with putting it to him, and Reebok's playing really good up the field. So,
well, that's a good segue into Essendon versus St Kilda.
Yep.
Yeah, the part where he managed to snag 5, so they didn't hurt his Coleman chances.
He's had a brilliant year. Just like we said it before, wouldn't have picked him out of a lineup last year as an AFL player.
Yeah,
and he's pulling in bags each week, and he's outkicked Rewalt on this night. Although Rewalt, like we know, plays up the ground everywhere.
Yeah.
But look, I think the tale of St Kilda versus Essendon, the leading goal kicker for Essendon was their full-back. It says something, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think going back to Revolt and Bruce, how handy is it for Revolt to know that he can go deep and there's still a target up forward? Because in so many times past, he goes deep and then, all right, I've got a mark on the on the wing, I've got nowhere to go.
He kicks as high as he can and then runs as fast as he can. Pretty
Try to
much
catch it,
mark it
yeah.
again.
He tries to kick for touch.
I picked the Saints to finish second last this year, and they're getting more wins than they had any right to.
I think I had a bit of faith. I think I picked them 14th.
Well, geez, they've done well. And it's been guys like Armitage that have
Armitage has
stepped
been
up.
killing it.
Yeah,
Been
38
killing
touches.
And the thing is, not just getting the ball in quick hands, like meaningful touches as well. We did like a lot of work, not just getting in and under, but around the work.
He looks a little bit
backs.
bigger this year.
He'll get
too.
a lot of 2 votes. I mean, it's just unfortunate they don't very often 3 vote the losing team.
No.
And Montagna kicked goals when they counted, when they needed them, and did a lot of hard work in that sort of half forward to forward pocket area. The other one, like obviously Eston got a fucking toweling, but I think McKernan's got his head off the chopping block. He did enough for me to get him out of there, especially for a big man. He had actually a fair bit of skill off his boot, so got him off the chopping block.
Yeah, he's still rookie listed, but I think he's done enough to say that he'll be upgraded to a proper list next year.
I think there's enough ahead of him that he's not in your first round of cuts.
And look, I think his skills were great for a big man and were good for a centre half back.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you now.
Yeah.
Look, I watched about half of this game because you know how like there's only so much porn you can watch. Watching Essendon get pumped like that, after a while, it's okay.
Becomes abuse.
You just like start fighting each other.
It was very interesting that even James Hird was flagging before the game. It's very hard to win with as many inexperienced players as we have. And you thought, ooh, it's half hour before the game. You're bringing out the excuses.
Plus, you're against a young Saints side, and you get not just beat, you get towed. Like, look at the disposals, 445 to 304.
So that's 140 extra disposals.
50% increase on your disposals.
And just the way they lost too. Like, anytime they showed the slightest bit of resistance, Saints just went, fuck you.
So they've had 140 less disposals and 7 less tackles. So the Saints have either got the ball or they're holding the bloke who's got the ball.
Yeah.
Just
well, they've hand passed it to him and then tackled him.
I haven't had a look at the back page of the Herald Sun yet, but I'm pretty sure it says that the board is right behind James Hird.
Which is, where are they sitting at the minute? 14th. Is that 4 and 8? I think they've got 4 and 9.
4 and 9.
If this was,
but they're on a five loss winning streak.
5 loss losing streak.
Keep the streak alive.
Just them and the Brisbane Lions.
Quitters don't win, all right?
If this was Damien Hardwick, he'd be sacked. Like,
Damien Hardwick would be strung up across probably Victoria Street or something.
And Richmond were knocked out in the first week of the finals last year. So were Essendon.
Yeah.
So they're like expectations.
Yeah.
Essendon have topped up with guys like Cooney and senior players, and they've had to because of their restrictions at the trade table and draft table rather. Yet Hurd's still going to coach out this year. We know he's going to. They're not going to sack him.
Well, the only thing is too, like if you're a quality coach,
Like Mark Thompson.
well, are you really going to want to wade in and try and fix that bullshit, or are you going to take
now.
another job? Because there's always going to be more than one job at the end of the season. Half the teams miss out on finals.
There's a couple of jobs going this season.
There's at least 2. And look, it's just if it was any other coach, his head would be on the chopping block. But they've hitched their wagon to him too much.
Yeah, exactly, and especially when you've got someone who like Hurd, who's a loyalist to the club and someone who's beloved, but he's unproven as a coach when he got in that role.
Yep.
So you can't get someone in that sort of pressure situation and learn on the job. Like that's stupid. When you got someone like Mark Thompson who put him in the head role and let James learn underneath him.
So they can say, it's since the WADA investigation or the WADA appeal that the players are going flat again. Well, then you got to get the guy that's started this program.
Yeah.
Guilty or not guilty, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You want to cut ties with it and just say, you know what, we want to forget about that time in our history.
Yep.
Or you look at their win-loss record. He's 4 and 9. You want to cut ties to that coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what if he ends up being 4 and 15, which is entirely possible based on what we saw.
The way they're going, I can't see where the next win's coming from. Something's got to change massively.
I mean, you got to say, if any coach gets a wooden spoon, unless you're an expansion team and fresh, you're probably getting sacked.
Well, right now, 4 wins. I think Gold Coast can catch them with Ablett back.
Brisbane, the only ones that might
probably won't
beat them to the bottom.
If they lose to Carlton, and I think they've got a game against Carlton coming up in a couple of weeks, it should be more of an issue than it is. But he's contracted to the end of next year, and with all the lawyers' fees and fines and whatnot, Essendon don't. They've always had this war chest, and I think they've gone to war.
Lighter now.
It has to be a bit lighter. Look, they've got Saints this weekend, which is their bogey team the last couple of years.
Plus,
Saints or Melbourne? Melbourne, sorry. The Saints just gave them a
beat.
flogging. Melbourne's been their bogey team for the last couple of years. They need to show something.
Haven't they just built like a brand new complex?
Yeah,
like state-of-the-art training facility is going to be the next level.
I might even rock up to the Saints Essendon game just to see if Essendon are losing at half time. I reckon
Melbourne
you'll see a lot of
Essendon
exodus.
made the same thing I said. Melbourne Essendon.
Oh, fuck that.
Same thing I said, yeah.
Screw me up. I was thinking Melbourne. I think Nathan Jones will tear them apart.
Well,
Literally and figuratively. There'll be strewn body parts over the fucking field.
this was Joe Watson's 200th as well, and he got one kick on the day. It's a bit of a quiet night for
I think it took him a while to get that kick too.
I think it might have been in the third.
Yeah. I think it was at least a quarter between kicks if it wasn't in the third.
It wasn't a good day out. I don't know if Hurd's still there next year, if we might see a few other players that are thinking, what's it like elsewhere?
Yeah.
Well, one thing was raised that Watson just didn't look like he was involved. It didn't look invested and hasn't all season.
Ended up down full forward at one stage.
He is a good player, don't get me wrong, but do you think the captaincy sits well on his shoulders?
He looked laboured. And I remember seeing him just do simple basic errors on like a link-up hand pass where he's taking a mark and someone's running past and can't even hit the person on the chest.
When he was first given the captaincy, it looked like he was one of those players that had actually lifted him. But now, maybe it is the whole off-field shit. He's just had enough. Maybe he wants to relinquish it.
He's not very old either, is he? Like, he's not that old.
I don't think he'd be 27 or 28 or something like that. He wouldn't be 30. I don't think he's 30.
No, I don't think he's even that old.
He's, like we said, just clocked up his 200th. So maybe he does want to hand it over, in which case there's only one person they can give it to, and that's Dyson Heppel.
Yeah. Heppel, every day of the week.
Who's the other one that stood up on the day.
Well, I mean, I think there may be a little case for the way Michael Hurley's played this season across half-back to be a general.
You need another couple of seasons of that sort of contribution before you
show some
get it
consistency.
Yeah, that's true.
His disposal against Hawthorn was shithouse too. It cost him a good couple of goals.
Or maybe, it might raise someone, so give it to McKern and see how he goes.
Have a rookie listed captain.
First time for everything.
What could go wrong, Mel?
What could go wrong?
Well, fuck, you're getting pumped by the Saints by 20 goals.
We don't want fans, they said.
And
They'll stick around for Herd. They'll stick around for fucking anyone.
Believe me, it's nice and fun to hang shit on Essendon. So that's why we did. But look, the good news is for the Saints, it's been their first 100-point win for a couple of years. I think 2012 was the last time they had one. The thing about that is they're not going to play finals this year, but games like that is going to get more people through the gates for the rest of the year. And that's where you start to get more membership, more money, and the fans long term are going to hang around to it. Whereas for Essendon, it means they're going to have some very sparse stands for the rest of the year.
Yep.
At a time when they need money. And we've already seen, on Facebook, the memberships are getting thrown on the fire, and there's got to be a lot of Richmond.
We've already seen by rocking up to the games that. I mean, they won't even stick around to the end of the game that they thought they were going to win, but were going to lose. So they're going to rock up to one.
They wouldn't stick around for Fletcher's 400th.
They ain't rocking up for a game that they know they're going to lose.
Well, I'll tell you what, the best part about that game, it saved my life, because after the North Gold Coast game, I wanted to slash my own wrists with my own membership. But then I saw Essendon, and I thought, that's not their fuckers. But I'll tell you what, if you want to get rich, if you need a bit of cash, start making a baby food company now or some shit, because around March next year there'll be a lot of little fucking Saint supporters coming around wanting some organic fucking fresh baby food, because they will be on that of that win.
I was wondering why you're counting on your fingers. You're counting out 9 months. I was. I saw you counting. I'm like, really?
I thought he was trying to figure out what came after 9. He's like, I know this little finger means something. I just can't remember which one it is.
Okay. The Crows-Cats game was obviously called off, which I think was the right decision.
Well, the thing I liked about that is they pretty much consulted with the club and said, look, we can go if you want. If you don't want, that's fine too. And they went through. They said, well, look, we won't play. We'll open the ground.
Yep.
People can come in, do whatever suits them.
I think they still had about 22,000 people come to Adelaide Oval on the Sunday. It'll be very emotional, I think, in a couple of weeks when they play their next home game. It will be interesting to see what happens. There was a few people asking about what happens. Should we cancel all Brownlow votes for the weekend and cancel all goal kicking for the weekend? And I thought, end of the day, it's a bit of rub of the green, and what does it matter that two teams missed out in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing is that what this thing's done is show how small this game is compared to everything else in life. So if you're going to make up a fuss about who won the goal kicking contest or who got the Brownlow votes over this, then go fuck yourself.
And really, if it's not going to decide the premiership, everything else is just details.
Exactly right. If you can accept that both teams are going to get 2 points because the game's called off, you can accept that somebody might miss out on an individual honour at the end of the year because they missed out on one game.
The whole message is this game doesn't matter compared to your well-being in life and all that stuff.
Look, and there's no right way to handle the situation, but they've done it admirably.
All you do is cope.
They consulted, they made sure everyone could express their feelings, and they just tried to make sure everything was honourable, which I think is the only way you could do it. On
to another piss-poor effort by the weather at Subiaco, with first playing 18th. For a while there, it looked like 18th might get their first win ever over first. But at the end of the day, when it mattered in the final, Freo just put the foot on the pedal and kicked away in the last.
They just had too many contributors. Too many classy contributors.
Well, it was just a matter of, there's always a bit of a, obviously shit weather, and
it
was always going to be hard to have a blowout win or have a skillful game. And you knew it was going to be one in one little burst that made the difference, as all wet weather games generally are.
Yeah,
and
once you get that run on.
Yeah, Freo did it, and what was it, in the fourth? It was close to the fourth, wasn't it?
It was in the fourth.
And that's when they run over them.
I think they kicked half their score in the fourth.
Yeah, and look, Dane Beams
slotted in very nicely.
Do you reckon he might be the Nathan Jones of this year?
For the Lions, maybe not. I mean, it took him a couple of weeks before he's always been a ball magnet, even at Collingwood.
Yep.
It took him a couple of weeks just to sort of get in with the team system. But his last month has been back to his high standard at Collingwood.
Yeah.
Well, if Brisbane Lions sell Guernsey, they should iron his number onto them. I mean, it'll only take them 10 minutes because they're probably only selling 2 or 3. But he's the bloke you're going to have to look to. He's going to have to be the face of the club. And that wasn't part of his job coming in, but it's going to have to be now because that's all they can hang their hat on.
The thing is, it looks like he does the ball getting and the ball delivering.
He's got to do a lot of it.
He does the tackling and he does the disposals.
Well, you have to think, end of the season, there's a few guys there that won't be there next year.
Well, one in particular is Matthew Leuenberger, who is, I think, an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year.
Yep.
He's been, this year, moved to second fiddle behind Stefan Martin, who sat this game out for suspension. So he's got his one chance against the giant that is Sandilands, and he's got just 2 less hitouts than the big fella. It's not a bad effort on the day. He's done his contracts no harm.
One guy that may not be back next year, but I thought had a pretty good game, was Brent Staker. He probably may not get another look in.
I think poor old Stakes, Badger, his body's just given out after too many injuries. So he's had 7 touches for the day. It's a wet day.
But I remember seeing one passage of play where he ran, would have been 150 metres, always with the ball, always protecting the ball, and kept himself an option all the way through it, all the way until he was actually able to shepherd off so someone had a shot on goal.
Yeah, and he did do a lot, but the thing is, with Brisbane, you're looking at a rebuilding phase, and you're going to have to do a lot of trading and a lot of drafting and accept a lot of concessions. And like you're talking about Leuenberger, I think he'd fit in somewhere like with Richmond, where you got Marich, who's the key ruckman, and you need someone who's going to be sort of play forward or fill in the gaps where Marrich's going to have a rest or something.
There's always been amazing raps on him, and I've never seen it.
Yeah.
It could be a little bit of the contract curse too.
Yeah, so I think they'll probably trade based with like Leuenberger and Staker.
Well, I mean, if he's free agency, why would you'd want to?
You're trying to get something for him, but chances are you'll be like, oh, fuck this.
He might be just, you know what, I'm off, boys.
Peace out.
On Fremantle side of things, when it mattered, they stood up. Pavlich apparently was playing sick, but he's still good enough to kick 3, and he should against that back line.
Yeah.
Walters, also, I think he was leading goal kicker for the game. Yeah, snuck in for a nice 4 goals. Snuck under a few people's radars, I think. But
as of all the small little forwards,
this year it is a bit of the year of the small forwards, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's like they just fill in little gaps that form around pockets, and they've got very good at sharking those goals here and there.
But he's got a great leap on him too.
He does, yeah.
I think that's the other thing with the small forwards. When you think of Jamie Elliott and that kind of stuff, you can't just be the little in amongst it now.
There's no more front and centre. You've got to be in and amongst it all.
Yeah, and make your own contests.
Yep.
Look, it would have been very embarrassing if Freo lost, but like they have just about all year, they've done enough to get it done and march on. Just one loss for the year, and they go down to Tasmania next week. So, on to next week, when we bring it up. Oh, of course, it's fucking gone now, isn't it?
It's just there. It's right there.
So, on to next week. We've got another Thursday night game, Port versus Collingwood, over at Adelaide Oval. This is it for Port for their season. If they can't beat Collingwood, then they may as well start looking at draft picks. And Collingwood need a scalp. They've had too many honourable losses. So this is going to be an absolute cracker on Thursday night.
Yeah, I don't think Port will win. I think Collingwood will, just be too good.
I think so too. I got Collingwood for that one.
No, I'll go Port.
Richmond versus Carlton in the MCG on Friday night football. It's great to see Carlton back on Friday night again.
Yep, the part we said Friday night means I'm not going for Carlton.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to go for Richmond, but I'm always scared going for the ones, especially like Carlton, who they're the ones that always killed our season from the get-go, where we like get excited in the off-season and, this is the one. Shit, 100-point loss to Carlton. Shit.
Surely they can't.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that surely they can't. Surely they can't.
Big Marek will be sitting out that one. Essendon Melbourne at the MCG again. Like we said, Melbourne's been Essendon's bogey side the last couple of years. But look, if Essendon lose this, it should make the job untenable for Herd, but it won't.
Yeah.
Essendon have got to show something. They have to, because it was the most deplorable effort ever I've seen from that group last week. I think they'll turn it around, make one of the biggest turnarounds you've ever seen, and get up in this one.
Yeah, and like...
Just they can't be that bad twice in a row, can they?
I know, but I'm just really hoping so. So I'm going Hogan for 10.
Hogan for 10.
I'm the same. I think Essendon are on tilt. I think they're going to struggle to find a reason to put in.
That makes me excited, just thinking of Essendon on tilt and just going down the guts of Melbourne.
You just want to see more of those memberships going in the microwave.
Yep.
Bulldogs versus Gold Coast Gary Suns. It's now far more interesting game. This one, considering it's been played up there too. This one's in fucking Kazali Stadium in Cairns, I think. Which the Bulldogs sell a couple of home games. Look, 2 weeks ago this was a percentage booster for the Bulldogs. Now Gary Ablett's back. You're like, what the fuck's going to happen?
Gary. I think Gary will win.
Gary will win. Do you think Harvey Bennell, he can't play yet again, can he?
Well, I mean, why not?
Has he come down?
Well, he sat out this week because he said that, the scrutiny around it for something that happened 2 years ago.
I think just a little bit of penance and way you go.
I think so. Back into it, mate.
Yeah.
Let your footy do the talking. It's
exactly.
the best
Water
way
under the
you can
bridge.
So I think Gold Coast might be too good for the Bulldogs up there.
Yeah, I think they'll get over the line.
No, I've got the Bulldogs in this one. I think they'll have too many contributors.
North Melbourne and Geelong at Etihad Stadium Saturday night.
Yep, fuck that. I'm not going to that.
Why not?
Yeah, I think North Melbourne might win.
Because that's just it. They might win. I'll fucking go to that and they'll get fucking creamed.
Geelong coming off a 20-odd day break as well. So they might be a bit rusty. I think the good thing about it is it is Etihad Stadium, which means you can get out of the rain for a change.
Yep. I think Bartel back.
He played in the VFL last weekend.
Yeah.
So
might get called once.
I'll tell you what, if Bartel plays, Geelong wins. That's what I'm calling.
Yeah, I think North Melbourne will regroup. I think they'll... Crocker's out this week, isn't he?
I think Crocker's out.
He's done. Yeah.
Scott's in.
Scott's back in. So I think that in will be the difference in this game.
So Scott versus Scott again.
Yeah, I think Scott to get many posies.
West Coast Adelaide at Subiaco Saturday night as well. Going to be a very emotional game. Will Adelaide use emotion to get over the line over there?
I reckon they will. It'll be their grand final.
It'll be a fairy tale story.
I think West Coast will let Adelaide get over the line. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think, it's an emotional game. And in grand finals or meaningful games, you see players just run till they vomit in the fourth quarter kind of thing. I think that'll be what Adelaide are going to do. There'd be no excuse for not being a contributor on that game. Anyone who's slack in any way, shape or form, their own players, their own supporters, everyone is going to rain on their parade. So if you're not contributing, it's not going to happen.
I think there's going to be 16 other teams that are cheering for Adelaide in this game,
Yeah.
and there might even be a few West Coast supporters who are like, you know what, I don't mind if they
That's
win.
what I reckon. Like, I mean, you couldn't blame West Coast for not going extra hard at that hard ball, you know.
Well, it's up there with the Jason McCarthy game.
Yeah.
McCartney game, sorry. Even if you're not following either team, and even if you are, you wouldn't begrudge Adelaide a win.
There's, if
I
if
mean,
the football gods have got any sense of theatre, it'll be a nice win for Adelaide. GWS and St Kilda at Spotless Stadium. Great time for this game, I think, for both clubs in the season.
Yeah.
GWS need to show something, and St Kilda need to show that it wasn't a fluke. 110 points the week before.
Yeah, and this one's either going to be a spectacular view of fast, fun football,
Of the future.
Just free flowing.
or it's going to rain like bugger, it'll be a slog, and everyone will turn off at halftime.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I think it'll be very non-accountable football. Could be an exciting game.
I think Bruce and Rewalt are really going to be the difference here.
Yeah, I think thanks to the other one.
Heath Shaw's had a great year for GWS across the back line, but
He has.
he's not big enough and he hasn't got the tank to go with
Yeah.
Rewalt. Although he might sneak up behind him like a librarian again. I bet you every time he plays against St Kilda, he reminds him of it too.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the people that can order around and tell him what they need to do, like a Hodge or someone like that around the back line.
Hawthorn and Freo down in Tassie. This is 1 versus 4. I tell you what, it's very funny the way these two teams are travelling, because Freo you wouldn't say they're in top form yet. They're doing just enough to get by.
Yeah.
Hawthorn not in top form either, but it looks like they lack polish, whereas Freo are lacking effort. It's much easier to go, all right, now we go and try, when they're put to the sword like they will be. Whereas Hawthorn, they need to sort out their kicking and that side of the game, which is a lot harder to do. It's a skill error as opposed to a mental error. Where Freo, I think, they've shown they can turn it on when they need to. It'll be 4 quarters they'll need to. And look, to be honest, I think this game will be won and lost at the selection table at Fremantle.
Well, I think, as much as the footy cliche is 1 week at a time, Freo haven't been looking 1 week at a time for a while. A premiership is the only thing that they'll accept this year. If you don't get a flag, you've missed your opportunity.
Especially Ross Lyon.
Yeah, and
He
it
needs
gets to the
one.
point
Yeah.
where he becomes desperate.
Yeah.
But they win this game, they can still put their hand up as premiership favourites. They lose, they're not.
It still shocks me how Hawthorn's premiership favourites with most of the bookies. I think it must be just there's so many cashed up Hawthorn supporters that are putting money on them. But Freo, look, if they send a full side, I think they win. If they decide that, you know what, this is one of those ones we're going to lose, let's keep, Sandy staying at home and Pav's a bit crook and we don't want Fife to snot somebody. If they decide to do that and concede, then it's fortunate for Hawthorn.
Yeah, but it could also be that a lot of people have backed Freo or West Coast at really good odds pre-season and they're just laying off on Hawthorn
Just
now.
laying off
yeah,
now.
it's getting the good odds now.
Could very well be.
Maybe there's a little bit of a false market there. But when's the last time Hawks lost down in Tassie? Has it been
Years
a while?
ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Like,
But they don't usually play the good sides down there.
yeah. But, even still, it's Hawthorn are the best side down there, so it's tough.
It's their next week game that could be interesting too, because I reckon
Sydney.
based on what we've seen so far in the last few rounds, there's going to be suspensions coming out of this game. Hawthorn Freo.
Yeah, I'm liking this Biffo coming back a little bit. I think even the umpire's getting amongst it, throwing a few shoulders around, a few elbows.
And the final game, Brisbane and Sydney up at the Gabba. It'll be a tough game to watch. You'd expect that Sydney will just pile on the pressure when they need to. Franklin back in, Tippett back in. I think the two of them will kick 12 between them.
Yeah, and I think this would be a great game just to separate the Brisbane fans from the Brisbane bandwagoners.
I think it'd be lucky to be 12 fans between them.
Yeah, because if you can turn up to a game knowing you're going to get fucking smashed, that's the price you have to pay for then having seen 3 flags and a couple of flags.
Maybe they just rock up so they can get smashed, watch a bit of footy,
Maybe.
go home.
So the fans can get smashed.
Yeah.
Why not?
Day out.
No, you've got to earn your flag, earn your supportership, and I think anyone that turns up to this match for Brisbane, they've earned it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That'll be round 15. We'll know a little bit more about who's coaching Essendon in 2017, I think, after this round.
I'm not going to. No, I'm out.
I want to see Matty Knights come back. That'd be great. All right, away we go.
Right.